Hey. So I just wanted to stream. I don't know what the hell we're going to cover today. So Ryan had something come up where but on the other hand, he seems to be getting a little irritated with me over the horseshoe crab. And so he may not show up Thursday either, but I'm hoping he will at Thursday noon. And we were going to talk about morality, and I thought, I don't know, we could talk about morality now a little bit amongst us atheists and see what we come up with. So, like, what the hell is morality? What do you think it is? I mean, okay, like we have these words. What do they really fucking mean? Like, in reality, what is morality? What do you think? I guess you guys aren't thinking much.
Me first, Scott first.
Oh, you first.
Basically, I would say it is. Morality is like the system whereby we determine the right thing to do.
What's a system?
What's a system? It's a complex of values and beliefs that cause us to prefer one shall we say path or option over another.
Okay, if aliens landed on the Earth and they were looking for morality, what would they see? They don't understand our language. They don't have any of our customs or anything. What would they see if they landed here and they observed us?
On the whole, they would probably say, "What the hell's going on here?" But in certain areas, I think you would see, let's say some flood happens or something, an earthquake, and you see everybody turning out to help and everything, and there's no reason to help those people. They could help themselves, but we do. So
yeah, but if you saw like ants, like an ant being attacked, and all of a sudden you saw a swarm of ants gather around it and start to eat whatever attacked it, you'd kind of get the same idea, but if you observe more carefully, you'd see more and more instances of these people trying to help each other. But you'd see the big ones taking the little ones and covering them and protecting them and feeding them, bringing them food and all that stuff. So, and then you'd see the big ones. Now, okay, this is a humorous take I had on it about 20 years ago. The aliens would see the big ones get together, two of them, and start rubbing on each other for about 20 minutes. And then that's it, right? And then they would go away. And then some big ones would rub on the little ones, and then they would take those big ones and hang them on light posts. Something. So anyway, they could slowly figure out that it's okay for big ones to rub on big ones, right? And but then they notice that there's blue ones and red ones according to their terminology, and if two red ones rub on each other, then some of the other ones hang them on light posts, and now they're really fucking confused. So they start back in the 50s, right? That's what would have happened. So I mean, it's just it's what they would observe is behavior. Oh my God, we lost Scott again. No video. Okay, he's back. He's back. Is he going to put himself in? I'll put him in. Oh, now your videos or your icon's gone. You should. Is your camera off? Can a lobster be immoral? I think so. Yeah, according to my theory, a lobster can be immoral, basically. But now, okay, then there's this whole thing. Well, I don't know if we can get into that. It's subjective and objective morality. Is morality objective? In other words, could the aliens find morality by looking at it? And I think the answer to that is yes. They would see that all of this particular kind of animal, the ones with boobs, like raccoons and humans and, the certain primates, they all have boobs. They all take care of their young. They would notice that. They all seem to have, they hang together in groups, and they seem to avoid violence. Like, if there's a little fight, it'll be more like a mock fight. And then they'll back off and they'll seem upset for a while, or they'll seem agitated, and, and then they'll calm down and hug each other or curl up and warm each other or whatever. I mean, all of these things are like the basis of objective morality, I think, because you could view it from the outside and you would notice a certain behavior that, has developed. Now, then what do we, the accusation for atheism is that we have to have subjective morality, right? Can we falsify that claim about immoral lobsters? I don't know.
That was my comment. That was my comment to Ryan, was that there are atheists that believe in objective morality. So it's,
yeah,
he's just straw manning atheists, because there's many of them that talk about it online. So
yeah, I think the objective subjective thing is kind of it always fails in some fashion or another, no matter what you apply it to. If you apply it to the mind or whatever, there's making this dichotomy just never seems to serve philosophy well. I think it always goes wrong, because you can look at
apologists. It's not really a philosophical round of reasoning. It's basically trying to get you to not listen to atheists. It's coming from apologetic YouTubers. It's not a philosophical position. It's a apologetic strategy, trying to otherize the people you're talking to.
Okay, Nerdy's got it here. God's subjective morality is objective for us, right? It overrules us all. So one could make the same claim about a community's laws, basically, or a king. Okay, a king's subjective morality is going to be objective for everybody that the king rules. So, I mean, you see all the gray areas with objective, subjective. And
do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Atheists talk about, okay.
So yeah, God is supposed to be the standard. But it is, again, it's do as I say, not as I do, because God does all kind of awful things in the Bible. So,
okay, we got one of them in the chat, Brody Alexander. Atheists talk about morality, so what that means, they are sophists. They can't justify it. So we can't justify morality. So, like, okay, the three of us are atheists, right? So we can't justify not killing each other.
It's a golden rule. Do unto others. Do you want to be killed? No. Do you want to be punched in the face? No. Do you want your stuff taken? No. Do you want your family and friends harmed? No. So that it goes right back to the other person. And then they'll always throw up some kind of exceptions, like old Dolphy or some of these other people that were out of their minds and were dictators and had absolute power. And, well, what if, everybody just wanted to be like, 1930s Germany? And it's like, yeah, but on the whole, though, again, if you step back, the rest of the world said no.
Yeah. So the next thing they'll say is, oh, then it's just a preference. So basically morality is just what you prefer, right? Like, I have a preference not to kill you guys or whatever, right? But now, how do you spell preference? Is it with an E? I always want to do A's. Anyway, preference. Okay, so it's a preference. So I like broccoli. don't know how to spell broccoli. I think that's it. Better than Brussels sprouts. I prefer broccoli to Brussels sprouts, right? So they call that a preference. Is that on the same level as me not axe murdering my neighbor, Charlie? Oh, sorry, Charlie, if you're listening. Don't get upset. I'm just using this as a hypothetical now. Okay. So
we all have that. We all have that one neighbor.
Right. So this is a preference. No, I like Charlie a lot. He's unbelievable. He's like Mr. Anderson. He actually walks me through the logic of some of the things that I'm going to talk about on the stream. And he even looks like Mr. Anderson a little bit. But yeah, I think
it's a shame. It's a shame Mr. Anderson is a lawyer. I'd like him a lot more.
we were having a talk.
That's a joke. It's a joke.
We were having a talk the other night about, the nice thing about hell is you can always find a lawyer there. Anyway.
Yep.
But anyway, okay, so this is a preference, broccoli and Brussels sprouts. So I prefer broccoli over Brussels sprouts, right? So, but what happens if I eat Brussels sprouts? Okay, do I feel guilty for the rest of my life? Do I go to jail? Do I basically other people judge me and dislike me because I ate broccoli instead of Brussels sprouts instead of broccoli? No. So obviously preferences are not equal to fucking morality. But that's what they always want to say. So they say, oh, it's just a preference that you don't want to kill your neighbor. And it's like, no, it's much more than just a preference. It's built into my very nature that I don't want to do violence on other human beings. And there are a number of reasons for that. When you do violence, your whole system gets basically adrenalized, you get scared, you're risking, you're in a place that you don't want to go. And then after you've done violence, you have to consider, should I have done that? And you got all of this guilt and a number of other things. So morality is a little deeper than just a preference. So every time they try to tell you, oh, then it's just a preference, a personal preference. And we have all these personal preferences, right? Like all the humans in the world, we could probably divide them in two on this broccoli Brussels sprouts thing, right? But I don't think we can divide them in two on murder. I think pretty much all of us know that murder is the wrong thing to do. And how do we justify that? Why do we have to justify morality in order to do it, right?
It is a whole other state of being in your mind because, like, the son was off work yesterday and everything, and the wife was off. So we watched the Beekeeper last night. And
oh, you did?
I love the action films, and people that are getting what they deserve, and all that stuff, and it's like, heck yeah, man, he just marches right in there and kicks butt and tells them why he's doing it, because you're terrible people, blah, 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 and
Yeah.
But when it comes to, yeah, you can, get hyped up and you go, yeah, but when it comes, when you're actually going to harm somebody, though, that your mindset is totally different. It's not just that, oh yeah, we'll just burn down the world thing like they do in the movies. It's a whole other thing. And anybody that's ever had to take a life will tell you that it's, one of the hardest things they ever had to do, and they live with it every day. So it's on another whole level in your mind when you're actually going to harm somebody versus just thinking about it. Even if you were having a great time laughing with your buddies, oh yeah, that was great, man. They kicked all that butt, man. But is that really how we need to do things in reality? It's probably not the best way to do things in reality. Because along the way, a lot of innocents got injured, too. So
where's Brody? This show is so dumb. So did Brody come in? No.
No,
Brody.
it's the other dude. It's that idiot.
That's another dude.
Yeah, screw that guy.
So where's Brody? So he obviously needs to
He
teach
was in
us
he was
something.
in chat, and he didn't like precept being done at him, and he ran away.
He wanted me
He
to
ran
put the
away.
golden rule in a jar, and it's like
Yeah.
we can demonstrate why the golden rule is
Oh,
best for a social species. So
that's what I wanted to mention about morals, guys. Is I realized, maybe you guys have noticed this too, but the objective subjective apologetic trope is
Yep.
precept with extra steps. And so my thinking of it is, in precept you have typically the argument is something like logic doesn't exist without God, or logic only makes sense if it's grounded in God, or something like that. Or in certain people's cases, nonsense words equals there's no truth or false, and there's only true and false if there's God. What basically that if you use logic or if you use true and false, then there's a God, and therefore there's a God. So then the moral argument just says, well, if morals are objective, then there's a God, and that's good. So, and if they're subjective, then there's no real right or wrong, i.e., there's no truth or false. So, therefore, there must be a God, because that would be really bad if there was no true and false. And it's like, this is precept. It's extra steps. And once I realized that, I was like, yeah, that's it for the moral argument. Then I'm done with that one.
Yep.
There's no reason to keep covering it, because like I've already done the chess analogy more than once, and this one person I made, someone a short video, maybe it was an hour, but whatever, on morals, and they're like, I don't want to listen to somebody talk just for this long just to get to say morals are subjective. I'm like, well, I said they're both. It just depends how you look at it or what you mean by objective. I suppose ultimately everything is subjective in that you pick your ethical system. You pick DCT to some extent. I mean, I don't know how else. How would you frame that? That you're born into the culture, you don't pick that, so that's not subjective or objective. That you're born. Well, it's subjective that you're born in America, right?
Right.
If you're born around a bunch of Christians, and then that's true, and that's not, but it's nothing you had control over. So you're going to more than likely be a Christian. Like that's just the the likelihood is extraordinarily high. So your ethics are going to be selected for you in that case. So is that subjective or objectively selected then? Because you're not really given a choice of what ethics you're given, so to speak. They're given to you.
Yeah, the
Right.
ethics and morals, they exist outside of you for the longest time, and up until the point where you're able to question them and then decide whether or not you're going to take a different moral / ethical path. And that's kind of very tightly rooted to your social and moral development psychologically. Basically you're gonna go along and get along until you find ways to successfully get around the moral system, the mores, the rules, the laws, and then at some point you're going to decide for yourself, this is the right way to do it, or this is the wrong way to do it, and I choose to live this way or that way. And at some point you may even decide that the whole moral system that you were brought up under is wrong, and you're going to step totally outside of that and kind of rebel against it and try to find a different way. And very few people do that. You'd have to be like a Martin Luther King level kind of a person to reach that step. Be conventional. They're going to just follow the moral system they were born into, that their family raised them up in, that their peer group influenced them with. So that's my 2 cents about kind of. But a lot of this stuff is outside of you, because it exists whether you're there or not. But
Well,
your subjective experience is going to determine what you do within that system.
well, you said trying to work it, get around the rules and everything. That's the way I see Christianity, because it's all grace. It doesn't matter if you do right or wrong. You get forgiven. Right. So what is the point of even having right and wrong if you're going to be forgiven? I mean, they talk about, that you're going to get justice and all this, stand in front of God and they're going to open the scroll on your life and blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't mean anything if you have a get out of jail free card under grace. Whereas there are other religions where, yes, you're actually going to be judged on your life, right? Like in a, they're going to lay it all out. You step on the balance. Does it tip one way or another? But grace, and that's thing like Ray Comfort, where he does his bit about, hey, have you broken any of these commandments? You're going to hell. You're going to hell. You're going to hell. No, I'm not. Jesus forgives you. So there's a whole big problem with Christians trying to argue right or wrong when it doesn't matter, as long as you don't do blasphemy. You can be, do all kinds of horrible things and be forgiven for it.
So the thing that drove me nuts about when I was talking to Ryan in comments is he said, okay, so then it's just subjective morality, right? So it's like me, okay, I have certain actions, a set of actions that I approve of, and then I have a set of actions that I don't approve of. So there's kind of two different things, approve and disapprove. So I should have had a D over here. Well, I can't do that now. But anyway, so there's a set of actions that I approve of and disapprove of, right? And he says, oh, well, then I have to say it's okay the way Islamic nations treat women because it's subjective, okay? But if it's subjective, why do I have to say it's okay? That means that I have a certain judgment of other people's actions, right? So if I'm judging Islamic nations' treatment of women to be disgusting and stinky, right? I'm being subjective. I have my own set of morals, basically, and I judge others to be against those morals. I mean, so if it's subjective, that means just the opposite of having to. He thinks that because it's subjective. Hold on a second. He thinks that because it's subjective, I have to approve of everybody else's subjective morals. I don't. I mean, that's the whole thing about a moral, is it's a set of things that you approve of and a set of things that you don't approve of. And other people may well have things that you don't approve of.
Exactly. And that's why there isn't a majority religion. All religions are a minority against the population. So there's more people that disagree with every religion.
But then on the other hand, now there are some things that if you look at humans, you'll find some actions, a set of some actions or a subset of those possible actions that all humans agree on. I think we all agree that we shouldn't kill each other, right? We all agree that we should take care of our children. So we're very much on the same page there. I think we all agree that we shouldn't steal from each other. So there's a lot of things that seem like they're objective because they apply to all humans, and that would make them objective.
Well, now,
and there are some things
really,
like the way
in practice, this morality only applies to your in-group, your society, your community. Because in most moral systems, you're not supposed to kill other people, but if they're from that other place and we're at war with them, we turn around and kill them. Oh
yeah. Well, if they're something
crimes, we turn around and kill them.
Yeah, the thing about morality, now, if you really want to understand morality, you watch raccoons behave in a group when you throw food out to them, right? You'll find them stealing from each other where they can. You'll find the mother protecting her baby, which is a good thing. The stealing is a bad thing. They'll have a fight, but they never have a fight to the death. They have a mock fight where they pretend to bite each other, but they very seldom do any damage at all, and they back off. But the thing is that raccoon morality is not the prettiest thing you ever want to see, nor is human morality, because of that war thing that you just mentioned, Scott. Basically, if we find somebody else's morals deplorable, we will go to war with them, or we could go to war with them if we think they're doing the wrong thing.
Or we will figure out ways to make people believe their morals are deplorable in order to go to war with them.
Yeah, that's the
Morality in many ways is just a tool
to judge,
to manipulate people.
Yeah, to judge other people.
And when your aliens land, do they land, over there in Ukraine where all that's going on, or in the Middle East, or do they land somewhere, where the families gather around taking care of the new baby? Everybody's taking turns so mama can get a nap in, right? It kind of depends where the alien lands and what it sees.
Yeah. So I changed my actions to the set of things that you approve of and disapprove of. But there's a little more to this. Okay, I was on Jim Bob's channel and I was talking about valence, and I was trying to generalize this to biology in general, basically. So when you have very simple organisms, right, there will be stimuli coming into the organism and there will be an action coming out. And what you'll find is that in all living systems, there's this concept of valence. And I don't mean valence like electron shells. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about chemicals. It's biological valence. The organism will go toward or away from something, a very simple organism, right? And that's morality at its most fundamental level. And that's reducing it to that's drastically reducing it to something very simple. That I will go toward things that I consider acceptable, and I will go away from things that I disapprove of. So there's always a valence in morality. It's always, I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do that. And basically the nature of the beast right here is whatever the makeup of that particular organism is going to determine a lot of its morality. Now, if we have a simple single-celled organism, stimuli, it's going to go up a gradient or it's going to go down a gradient or whatever. And then you get over here to more complicated animals, and they have memory. They have an amygdala that makes them fearful, right? They have this crosshatch of memorable things that they've learned from their environment. And when stimuli comes in, they're going to come up with a plan, and they may review a plan or review something that's happened. Even mammals and birds, I think, can do this in a rudimentary manner where they can remember what they did or plan a future action so that they know what they're going to do, and they can decide whether or not they're going to move toward that action plan or away from it. And so morality gets more complicated because we have this web of beliefs and web of memory, and we do stuff. Then we get the human beings, okay? We have the same thing where we can basically plan and we can review what we did. We can think about future actions, but we also do this thing called generalization or conceptualization, where we come up with concepts and then we say, okay, we're going to describe it. And we take and do something really crazy at this point. We write a list of descriptions, right? Morality, which is what you'll find in the Bible, like a big list of things like you shouldn't wear mixed cloth or whatever the hell and all. You shouldn't do this to your sheep or do that to your sheep. I don't know. Did they ever tell you that you can't have sex with your sheep in the Bible?
I think there is something about that's a no-no.
Okay. I'm happy. I'm happy for the sheep that they did this. But anyway,
There are
but human females, you can buy them and sell them and do as you please. So the animals, probably got better treatment than we treat our own women and children in the religious sense.
Here's a step that confuses us when we start to generalize and we start to write down, like if we write down a rigid moral rule, and that rigid moral rule, we try to apply it without any exceptions, right? And we're always going to end up with an exception to the rule, and somebody's going to say, oh, well, what if this happens? Okay, this is called counterfactual mongering, according to Daniel Dennett. Basically, you come up, what if this happens, and what if that happens? And you come up with all this shit. Anyway, so sex with animals is not permitted in the Bible. Good to know. Anyway,
but wasting them as burnt offerings though is okay.
Right. Yeah, you can do that.
Because a burnt offering doesn't mean, you ate it or anything else. You just burned it up because the smell is pleasing to Yahweh. So that's not cool. But right. Yeah, don't be tagging on the sheep. Leave them alone.
You can see how this valence idea pretty much is the most rudimentary form of morality. We're going to do something or we're not going to do something. And then when you get down to a number of humans, right, where you've got cultures and you have interactions between them and dependencies between them, all different which ways, we have a group of people, okay, we're gonna develop a more complicated sense of what is right and what is wrong, depending on, who we're dealing with. And then you go throughout time and we add, as somebody put here, science and reason. You add science and reason, and you figure out that, well, some things we can fucking get over ourselves, and other things, we need to make sure we do right. So we're always using reason to develop our morality, and culture basically changes. Like my lawyer neighbor asked me, well, in the 50s, homosexuality was considered wrong. So if I look back to the 50s, what do I think of that? And I told him, well, I would judge those homophobes in the 50s because I'm out here in the, where are we, in the 2020s or something? Where are we? I don't know where we are. Anyway, yeah, the 2020s.
For the creationists out there, we are in the 21st century.
Yeah, the 21st century. Anyway, we're out here.
Y'all aren't caught up yet.
Yeah, and we have a certain culture, but the thing is that there's like these layers, right? Like there's this core thing, not killing, right? Like the core 10 commandments should have been, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, because I don't think that's a good idea. And, just a few core things. I don't know about this idol bullshit that they came up with, and there's a couple other dubious things, and we got core morality.
I would take out idol and put in don't own fucking people, That's probably one of the biggest oversights in human history is not outlawing slavery.
Yeah, slavery should have been in the fucking core system, 10 commandments. You can't own people, right? They don't say much about that. But then there's, other things about, that outside the core, not hurting animals, might be just above that core. And that's something that we're not really good at. We eat animals, we have like all of this complicated shit that develops around the fact that we can eat other animals and basically nourish our bodies with them. And sometimes we have to eat other animals in order to live. And then we kill flies and all sorts of stuff. So there's all these layers of morality. And then on the outside, we have this civilization that we are in right now. And the way we feel about our civilization, we liberals, right, is we feel we should stay the fuck out of other people's wombs and bedrooms. We have these morals. And so it is subjective, but it's based on reason, and it goes down through these layers. That's the thing. It goes down through these layers into our emotional system, into the way our brain is constructed, into the way our bodies are constructed. And it's very, very complex. And it's never anything that you can describe with perfect clarity, right? You can never do this description and write a moral down and say, this moral shall never, this line shall never be crossed, right? I mean, there's always like some weird thing that could happen in the future, has happened in the past, or whatever. We could modify something, except for these very, very core values. Okay, we can't modify those because of the nature of us as mammals. Because we are mammals, we nurture our young. We group into clusters and basically try to avoid violence amongst each other. So,
and where would you put that? Where would you put that as far as like your lizard brain or your instinct, or is that root thing that seems to be in a lot of species that don't have higher cognition, but they will fight to the death to protect their young?
Yeah, it would be in the putative lizard brain, or what we call the lizard brain. It's very much related to our emotional system. Like, the reason that we don't like violence is because it inspires adrenaline. It adrenalizes us. It makes our heart rap. It kind of feels uncomfortable. It starts taking a lot of energy. It makes us energy. Yeah, it makes us afraid. So we have all these limbic reactions to violence.
But there are people that like it, like boxers and whatnot. I mean,
oh yeah, there are people that get addicted to it that like it, and there you go, counterfactual. There's always an exception. But
I had to put away stuff, so now I'm back. Pragmatic crystal. All right.
But you got a lot of people. You got a lot of people in your chat there, Mike.
Oh, there are. Oh,
Robin Webster, Doorknob Head.
That's opposed to homosexuality because it. Okay, what is Robin? Trigger some people's ick response.
Oh yeah, icky. Yeah, that's probably the case. I think a lot of that's like you're closeted and you don't want to admit it, that's been shown to be a thing. Like the pastors are like, oh, kill them, get rid of them. It's like, yeah, they were found with like 20 guys,
My eyes are bothered, but other parts of my body seem stimulated. Why is this?
What's this?
Yeah.
Why are you linking to myself? Oh, it's my channel. Okay, right. So I was going to ask, okay, so if we assumed a morality, they say objective morality, and what I love is there's no list ever. Like, what, like name something that's always X. Because, like, you say, okay, well, murder. But, okay, there's loopholes because murder is defined as illegal killing. So you just make all killing legal. Now there is no murder. Now what? Or you go, well, it's always wrong. Whatever you say, it's always wrong or always right to do X. You can find, usually find the go-to seems to be like torturing babies for fun. And I'm like, well, but if God told you to do that, then it'd be right. Like you right. It would be morally objective if you were told to do it. And it's like, well, I can't make myself feel good about it. Well, but it doesn't matter. It's objectively right if God says to do it, right? So it's like, it's hard. I'd say, what if it is both? Like, there's some morals or some ideas that are always true, and then there's some that are flexible. So, like, maybe torturing whatever, anything for fun is incorrect. No matter what. But then there's, like something else. It's like wearing gray shirt that, doesn't really matter. So there's variance. And what if that's the case? Does that mean would that mean there's kind of a God? And that's why it's weird about the objective subjective thing. It's like it ties into the whole God thing. It's like, can't we leave that? Let's leave that to the side, because it adds another layer of complexity to this already complicated matter of, how do we treat each other,
Well, doesn't a new covenant do away with objective anything?
Yeah,
Because
I mean, you can look at it that way. Yeah, it's like,
God totally changed the rules, basically, right?
Yeah,
A new
all the
covenant.
rules are gone. Now it's just treat everyone like you want to treat yourself, which is still not phrased perfectly. And people have pointed that out, that you could, what if you have somebody that's a masochist? Well, they like getting pain in certain ways for pleasure, but that doesn't mean somebody else would. So, treating the neighbors as themselves doesn't always work. There's a nuance there that's missing. So,
That's what Mike was saying. Yeah, it's when you take it, outside of those things. Yeah, and I think he was quoting Dennett that, there's that other level there, but those are the, that's not. Yeah, that's not the majority or the whole, or what, you know what I mean? That's, again, that's like, old Dolphy or anybody else. Oh, he thought it was great to take over the world. And it's like, but the rest of the world didn't think that. So,
yeah. The Hitler thing. Well, the thing is with that, there's the scary thing of that is if, is that we could potentially all be the soldiers that went along with it, because there's pressure put on them to do so. So if you don't cooperate, you die, and not just you, but your friends and family. That's a lot of pressure. So what are you gonna do? Maybe you're gonna say no, but you'd have to have a lot of people say no all at the same time. But it wasn't like introduced immediately. It was a slow indoctrination, like anything else, and so.
And you said, if God says so, in the movie God on Trial, that
Jews, was a great one with the Jews. Yeah, I love that.
The Jews said, what? Talking about God made different covenants with people in the Bible, and that what if God made a new covenant with old Dolphy, right?
Yeah.
What if he was actually doing what God said? Then that would everything he did then would be, like you said, objectively okay.
Yeah. So that
from the God point of view, obviously, not the. But yeah.
Well, and we're goodness knows what behaviors society has now that in 100, maybe even within our lifetimes, will be seen as the wrong thing to have done.
Climate change.
yeah, we're kind of.
What were they thinking?
What were they thinking? We already know we're screwed with that.
The thing is, there is a certain kind of thing that I defined as evil, and that would be taking some moral and writing it down and chiseling it in stone so that you could never violate this no matter what happens, right? So that if basically, okay, murder is wrong, okay, killing is wrong, and you're prevented from violating this rule, absolutely, right? And then it comes to the point where somebody else is killing a child and you can't react by killing them if that's your only option. Then basically writing down a moral or writing down some sort of dogma or doctrine as they have in the Bible, to me, is the essence of evil, because it all of a sudden it becomes a judgment thing where you're judging other people and you're going to go to war with them, and there's no flexibility and there's no allowance for context at all. It's just taking the moral and conceptualizing it to the point where it doesn't even fucking apply to us anymore. See what I mean?
Well, here's something that kind of popped in my head, and somewhat up your alley, since genetics and whatnot. We could hypothetically engineer humans better than we can now. I don't know how well we can do it now. I don't think we have done it now, or like we've done. I mean, you can kind of pick your partner, so I mean, I guess there's some there, but I mean, on the genetic level, so it's like if we could say, okay, we're gonna make it that from now on, everyone has to, get this treatment, and their kids are not gonna have the desire to do fill in the blank, and so it's not even
Right.
going to be a thing anymore. And is it a good idea to do? Is the freedom to be able to do bad more important than not having that bad at all? So if we could turn off the desire to do that bad, would that be worse than having the possibility of choice?
Right.
Yeah,
I don't
Well,
know.
and somebody made that argument. I think it might have been TMM or one of the ones that said, yeah, you could make a world without these bad things, and you could still have free will. So that it's
you'd have less.
confusing.
You should have less free
Right.
will, because you wouldn't have the desire to do that. But
Right.
but I'm
could
asking
you could take
question
out the note "don't murder" thing,
right.
and people would just not murder because you just
Right, but-
don't do that, and you can still have free will to do all the other things.
Yeah,
So
but then the
it kinda-
question I'm asking is whether it would be good to do that in the first place or not.
Right.
Like
Eugenics.
I
well, if
Yeah,
that's an
like-
ought, that's an ought thing. That's an ought thing, right? If it's always wrong, then why not just make it that you can't do it? If God
Can't do it.
doesn't want this to ever happen,
yeah, nobody. You could make it that nobody is born homosexual or something,
right? Or left-handed,
or whatever. And it's like, okay, you could and I asked this question actually to a psychologist.
Oh, what happened to
and
him?
the psychologist said absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I was gonna say what I asked, but I had to pause for a moment here. I asked, because I was dealing with different stuff in my brain. I'm like, look, if there was a thing that just got rid of this forever, I would take it, no question asked. But is there a value in learning the methods to deal with this trauma that I wouldn't have if I had a pill that got rid of trauma forever and I never had trauma again? That'd be great. But maybe there's something worthwhile in learning all these techniques to deal with trauma. And I'm like, I don't think
But
that
if it
there
never
is.
happened,
If it
never happened, then that goes away.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, well, if I had the choice, I would absolutely get rid of it forever and never have. And it's like I would need all those techniques. And I hear this sometimes from theists where they say maybe there's some value in the suffering. Like the suffering is actually draws you to God, or it might do this, or it might do that. I'm like, yeah, it might, but it sucks. Does it have to hurt so much? I mean, come on, give me a break here. So I don't know that there's value in suffering or in having to learn to deal with. You have to learn to deal with trauma because you might encounter it. But if you didn't have to encounter it, I don't know that there is a value in learning how to cope with something. Well, there'd be no value in learning how to cope with something if you didn't have to cope with it. Yeah.
You wouldn't even know what it is. There would be no
why did I learn
description
this?
of it.
This is pointless.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
or Scott can't get his Wi-Fi to work. But anyway,
his
this
Wi-Fi is immoral.
He needs to wet his feet first and stick out his tongue in the right direction.
His Wi-Fi is immoral. That's the problem.
I'm kind of with the theists that the argument for evil or whatever, or the argument against evil or whatever, is a shitty argument. I mean, if we lived in a world where there was no possibility for death, suffering, or whatever, we would have no possibility for life, joy, or whatever. And that comes from a Buddhist perspective. That comes from a Buddhist perspective. If you felt nothing but pleasure would completely disappear for you. That's why you need that valence. Life itself involves valence, moving toward or away from something. It involves discomfort and comfort. And if you don't have the discomfort, the comfort ain't going to be shit. It's going to completely disappear. So the
Well,
highs
you
in
know-
your life depend on the lows in your life.
Well, there's times where you don't feel anyway. You don't feel happy or sad. You're just there, you know. So, and
Definitely.
you're not bored necessarily. So, I don't know what that is. Just feeling normal. I don't know.
But you're going to a natural you're going to a natural explanation though, that all this stuff makes more sense from a natural world, that we have to deal with all the things because that's the way it is.
Well, even if there's a supernatural, we still have to deal with the natural.
We still have to deal with it, yeah.
That's what
If we're a
Bobby
brain, yeah.
Bob didn't get.
If we're a brain in a vat, we still have to deal with it.
Yeah,
because that's how it's
That's
set up, right?
That's why heaven
It
would
doesn't-
really fucking suck, right?
Yeah,
Heaven
yeah,
would
yeah.
really suck. I mean, it'd just be
Oh yeah.
candy. It'd be candy canes until you were so fucking sick of candy canes. Hey, Leo, what's up? I didn't
Hello,
see you
Leo.
in chat. Where the hell
Oh
you
wait,
been?
so
What-
why is the argument from evil a bad argument?
because basically this thing about having ups and downs and good and bad and yin and yang and contrast, okay, is really important to the nature of our existence, to the tapestry.
But that's not what
that
the argument from evil is arguing. It's arguing
Okay.
a contradiction between the existence of an all-powerful and morally perfect being and the existence of evil. That's all it does.
Oh, yeah.
It's an
Well-
argument against the existence of a classically theistic God. So
But they can
the
say
idea,
that,
like, I agree with what you're saying. I think that the fact
Okay.
that there are bad things and evil happening in the world is sort of just a part of the natural world. I mean, of course, I am an atheist. God doesn't
Right.
exist. But the point is that's not what the argument is trying to argue. It's trying to draw
Yeah,
a
well-
logical, I would argue successfully draws a logical contradiction between an all-powerful, morally perfect God existing alongside pro-toto evils in a world that it creates.
Yeah.
yeah, God
I think
could
we
very
were
well
crossing
have-
over to the moral thing was the thing. So yeah.
Okay, God could very well have created a world where we have all the suffering that we have, except children can never die. Basically, children are, immoral.
That would be a good one.
Right? Yeah, you don't lose a child. I mean, God could have done that, and why the hell didn't he? Because he
God
likes to
could
kill
have created a world where there aren't brain-eating worms.
children. Yeah, like
Like
Kennedy?
a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
It only chewed on some of it though.
Like-
Most of it's still there.
Like I said, it doesn't have to hurt this much. Like, okay, maybe you need some. But do you need this much? I mean, come on, it's a lot already. It seems like overkill. But I don't know. But all right, guys. I'm
don't
gonna
know
go.
about
I gotta eat. So that's
yeah.
cool.
Now that you made this transgender comment, you're going to run off.
No. Oh, look, he was mentioned. Look, they said like gay and transgender aren't like an illness. So I'm like, yeah. Well, if we knew genetics enough, we could just like make the person be the guy or the girl that they wanted to be in the first place, and then they wouldn't have to go through the trouble of transiting, which I'm sure is it's a lot of pain and money and stress to go through all that. So yeah, I mean that then yeah.
It's culturally painful more than anything else, and we can modify our culture to get away from this fucking gender typing as much as we do it. This whole thing about like my old man, make a man out of you. That was his big
It's a
deal
great
with
song.
me.
I like that
Yeah.
song. You don't mean the song. All right. And then with gay, I guess you could make the argument, you could just make them the other sex. Maybe this whole tampering with genetics is a bad idea. after
Right,
all.
it's a really bad fucking idea because where are you going to stop? Like if we start engineering people to be better at football, can you imagine what these humans are going to look like in about 100 years with the football? They're going to be like these giant fucking transformers,
What was
It's fucking-
interesting? Okay, the weightlifters. I heard about this. The dead weight lift thing. That the
Powerlifting?
rules powerlifting, right? There's rules like if you have to like get your back off the table or whatever and all this stuff. So they're like tilting themselves into these weird positions, so they don't have to move the bar very far to get it off the thing and back on. So they've gamed the system. So they're not getting stronger; they're just getting more clever because they gamed the rules. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Well, there's a well-known thing like for curling, for doing curls. Basically, if your muscle attachment is genetically very slightly different than another person, you'll be able to curl 5 or 10 pounds more easily, right? Based on your where that muscle attaches. So they could create your arms so that they would be much better at leverage, and you would be able to curl more and more and more. And then, of course, we could go from there and figure something else out. So we could curl Cadillacs in our right hand, We lift cars.
And you make people that want to serve other people, and
Well, that was I was a $6 million man fan, right? But after I thought about it, when I got older, having a bionic arm that can pick up a car still shatters the rest of your body when you try to pick up the car.
Well, also, I mean,
it kind of falls. Hey, I wanted to ask Leo. I wanted to ask Leo while he's here, though. Leo, do you think that there can be things that are objectively always wrong, even if we don't know now?
No.
Okay.
The very concept of stance-independent moral facts is incoherent to me.
Okay.
I don't believe in any stance-independent normative facts. So even like epistemic norms, like we ought to proportion our beliefs to the evidence, I don't think that's an objectively true statement. I'm not even sure if moral statements, more specifically, express truth or falsity, whether in an objective or a subjective sense at all.
I don't know. I think Iowa is objectively wrong.
I don't even know what that would mean. Without Iowa, cars would grind to a halt, and you wouldn't. Beef prices, and pig prices, and chicken prices would skyrocket because all the corn that's used in their feed wouldn't be getting produced.
Yeah,
I had ribs yesterday. We can't be messing with my ribs now.
Yep. Well, I had porterhouse yesterday, and I'm gonna ribeye yesterday. I had porterhouse today.
Hell yeah.
Watching my cholesterol. Yep. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I think in a lot of ways we are intelligent enough that we are very confused about our intelligence. I think we're smart enough to confuse ourselves about shit like morality. I mean, so I like to reduce everything to just biology and science, and just like, okay, let's look at the fucking facts. What are the fucking facts? What would happen if aliens landed here and they were like so totally different than us that they could do nothing but observe us and make, write shit down, reduce it to the facts. I don't know.
I don't think morality can be reduced to biology for the same reason that I don't think human economics can be reduced to just pure biology. You couldn't take capitalism and explain it purely biologically. Some things are just rooted in a higher scale of human society and human interaction and things like culture, and I think morality is one of those. Now, that's not to say that I don't think there are evolutionary features of humans that play a role in why humans develop moral systems to begin with. I think things like our sociality, altruism, our empathy play into the fact that we develop moral systems, and might play a little bit into the kinds of moral systems humans tend to prefer. But I think more broadly, moral systems are largely culturally informed. That's why I think morality tends to differ. I mean, not just from culture to culture, but even within cultures. I mean, within U.S. culture, there's stark moral disagreement on something like, say, abortion. And I think that's going to be cultural.
You and I mean a different thing by reduce, I think.
I tend not to use the concept of reduction where I don't need to.
Yeah. Yep. I shouldn't use the word reduce either because I really don't like it. But I use it. Yeah. Okay.
Should we talk
What
about
else?
emergence?
Yeah, emergence is really interesting. Oh no, I hit the wrong button. Hit the right button. Anyway, what are you up to, Leo? What's new?
Nothing. I'm supposed to have a debate with Evidence of God at some point, hopefully this Thursday. I don't
Who
know
the
if that's
fuck is
going to
that?
happen or not.
Who is?
I don't know. All I know is that his screen name is Evidence of God. He's had a couple of debates, probably like 3 or 4 on modern
By
day
evidence, they mean bad arguments.
Well, I think there's evidence of God. I just think that it's so drastically overdetermined by evidence against God that it doesn't matter.
What would be evidence for God? What would be evidence?
The Kalam cosmological argument. The very fact that most of the world believes in God is expected if God exists.
That's evidence.
Some people might say the beauty in the world is expected if God exists. I just think that those things being expected if God exists isn't enough to establish even remotely that there probably is a God.
So you could say in
Evidence
this country,
isn't intrinsically good. You can have bad evidence for things or weak evidence for things, but it's
Okay.
still evidence.
So, I'm not even going to get into that. I wanted to clarify because apparently I got wrong the trans. I don't know what I'm talking about. Apparently, when it comes to that stuff, yeah. So yeah, if we could change bodies, we could. I don't know if we can manipulate. We can manipulate the genome. Probably shouldn't mess around with it. Just because it's just gonna. I don't know. It's gonna maybe cause more problems than good. Who knows? So
Right.
whatever good thing that we could potentially do for somebody, then we could, then maybe we should, but maybe not. I don't know. But then there's this other thing that I have to be skeptical about, but it's about politics, so I don't care. Being apolitical sucks. Okay. Yeah.
Back in the 60s, back in the 60s, the youth did something really unique around 1966 to 1972. We decided that we were going to do whatever the fuck we want as long as we don't hurt other people, and we were not going to judge. Like for instance, some of us would wear bell bottoms and paisley shirts. Some of us would paint our face day glow orange, dye our hair, and grow our hair long. Others would wear the most bizarre costumes and uniforms and dress up in any goddamn way they want and behave any way they want. And as long as they
I had a
weren't hurting,
I had a lime green polyester suit that I wore to church.
awesome. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So basically, we decided to leave each other the fuck alone and let each other do what they wanted to do. And I think that would go a long way to helping with problems like
And yes, my father had a white belt. You remember white belts, Mike?
Yes, I do. And they were like horrifying as white socks. White socks are horrifying too. But anyway, my dad, one of the few things I got from my father was his brown fake leather pimp suit. That's what we used to call it. He thought it was the most fashionable thing, and we called it his pimp suit. And then I got his
Can I
slippers.
ask what year he was born?
My dad was born in 1917.
Okay.
Guess I'll get it out for you later. If you don't want it now.
Oh, somebody
Oh
left.
damn, he left. I was just gonna say something about like apolitical, because I don't like it when people describe them. Nobody's truly apolitical. But
I wanted to ask him about horseshoe crabs.
It's a meme that I often like post or give the people who like talk about, I'm not really into politics and stuff. And it says, politics doesn't interest you. Why? Because you have no interest in changing a world that suits you so well. The people who aren't interested in politics and, I don't get into politics, or, I'm apolitical, are people who are so privileged in this country that they get to ignore politics. Because no matter what happens, they will always be comfortable in this country. But people like me and many people that I know, some even in the chat, we don't have that privilege. We don't have the privilege to just ignore whatever politics is doing because we live such privileged lives. We have to pay attention to this because literal lives depend on it.
Our fucking
And that's why I
country
think it's
depends on it right now.
lazy to like not be interested in politics. You might not be interested, but you should be interested
See?
for the people that it matters for.
I knew Bree's ears would perk up when I mentioned horseshoe crabs.
Oh, horseshoe
Is that-
crabs, yeah.
Because they're related to arachnids.
Yep.
There's
So-
deconverted, man. Yeah, he got tired of the horseshoe crab stuff. Yeah, a lot of people don't know yet. I'm well sure Bree knows that horseshoe crabs are bugs that went back in the water, and they're not very good to eat. I guess their roe isn't even very good. I guess so. Yeah, it's a big icky bug.
Horseshoe crabs, yeah, their blood is blue, and but what's cool about horseshoe crabs is that their blood, anytime it detects any kind of pathogen like bacteria, it just goes crazy and kills it. It just wraps around it and kills it, so they don't get sick, which is kind of cool, and that's why the medical community is really interested in trapping millions of them and taking their blood out of them. Well, they take their blood out and they let them go, but sometimes they don't have enough blood to live, so they die. But anyway, but horseshoe crabs are pretty cool because they're
Pretty
used
old,
to be a
too.
whole lot of different ones.
Chelicerates related.
Chelic-
I was looking at the trees, the phylogenetic trees on them because of Ryan's horseshoe crab thing.
Yeah.
So I was reading up on the horseshoe crabs. Pretty neat.
I just want to point out,
Ziphocerex.
it's not just that like our trans brothers and sisters are under attack. They're being violently targeted,
And
getting
killed.
beaten to death, like all this stuff. Violently targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two
So
were
it's more
killed
than
in
just
Minneapolis.
under attack. I mean, I get
In the
what
last-
Robin is saying, but I make no bones about this. They're being violently targeted.
Yeah. Yeah,
We've seen
DC just came up with an
this
idea,
before.
and he probably should have left it on the cutting room floor. But anyway, he didn't mean anything by it. And
Yeah, I don't think
be.
deconverted man meant any harm. I don't think he was trying.
No,
to-
he didn't.
So I don't think we should jump down his throat over it or anything like that. Like some people, they might say something, maybe it didn't come out the right way. I mean, but yeah, I don't think he tried to mean any harm by anything that he said.
Call the transatlantic show. Okay, can anybody call that, Stephanie, or is it just like you just want Christians to call in or believers?
No, she's telling you that
Anybody-
call into the show in virtue of being able to, once you call in, actually speak with like real trans people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ask your questions.
And the Transpositions
Nun.
is a
How you
good
doing?
channel. I watch some of the stuff they post, and I think other people should go look that channel. I think that like, you know, Bree and Stephanie and Ember kind of jointly run and manage the channel. I think at least that's sort of the vibe that I've got. And they've got other people that work with them. It is actually a really good channel.
Yep.
Does somebody have a link? Does somebody have a link they could put up?
Well, I think Bree and Stephanie are mods, so they should be able to throw a link up. Otherwise, I can.
Just throw me a link.
I'm subscribed. If they don't pop one up there, I can get you one.
Yeah. I believe I am too, but I don't know if I got my bell
You should
set.
be.
But anyway, so horseshoe crabs and coelacanths and a bunch of other what they call living fossils are being touted by the creationists as proof against evolution for some reason. And I tried to explain to Ryan why it isn't. Ooh, something's wrong with... Oh, Stephanie's got OBS. How about that? Stephanie, you're on OBS.
Oh, I have
Oh,
OBS.
yeah.
I've had OBS for a while. I just don't
Your,
have my camera running.
She's got the
Your
cool
robot.
effects where she fades in and out and everything. It's sweet.
That is pretty
Hi,
cool.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Transatlantic Call-In Show is a call-in show that is specifically for people to call in. People that are even people that are, maybe what you'd call gender critical, to talk to actual trans people about, to just ask the questions. The are you a theist or an atheist got nothing to do with it.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the show. Is call in. The line's open. It's on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and the line's usually open at quarter of. And I've been on it 6 times so far, and it's just, I'm so, I apologize. I know that Deconverted Man wasn't uh, really doing it, but it's been really griping me of late that every fucking conversation has to have a what about the trans moment in it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
And it's
right.
usually in these situations where it's got nothing to do with the price of eggs on a Sunday. It's just drops in there because, hey, what about the trans? Matt Walsh is talking about the trans. Oh, Ben Shapiro is talking about the trans.
Yeah,
And
we get.
meanwhile, as Leo quite eloquently pointed out, we're getting killed because of it.
Yeah, and it's like
So,
it,
just
it-
fucking figure it out. Tell them, and if you guys aren't gonna fucking stand there and say, well, that's ridiculous. Talk to a trans person, or that's ridiculous. Go listen to the Transpositions podcast, or go join the Transpositions Discord, where there are over 35 peer-reviewed papers assembled for your reading pleasure so that you don't make these stupid fucking arguments day after day after day. I'm off my soapbox. Thank you so much.
We got you,
Okay.
Steph. And I'm there watching. I'm there listening.
Yep. The thing is, I don't know shit about it. I mean, I've got a few personal
That's my
things
point.
that have happened to me in my life, but it's nothing like, I don't think I have anything to compare with, basically. But I have been shit on with this gender thing, in my childhood quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I didn't like it, but it's still, I don't think I have any understanding at all what is happening with trans people. And therefore,
well, I'll be honest. I don't have any. I don't have any understanding. I don't have a clear understanding. I suppose from personal experience, I have a better understanding than most. But as to the, as to the etiology of the whole thing, where it all comes from, what is the nature of, these are the questions that trans people have to ask themselves when they even stop to consider, particularly medical transition. I mean, it's as if these discussions are taking place without giving the people that are actually dealing with the subject at its most elemental level the credit for even thinking that they give it a second thought. And who the fuck would ever do that in a decision, as in a process, in a decision, and in living out, when we say it's better after transition, it is. We're not kidding.
have you seen Robert Sapolsky's neurobiology of let's see, what the hell is it called? What do you think of that? It's pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, but it's speculative in certain ways. There is some science to it, but the problem that I have with tracking down, getting all kinds of bioessential about the gender slash gender dysphoria thing is the same kind of trouble I have with the people who were searching diligently after the gay gene.
Oh yeah.
A popular thing is, if you could take a pill and make you comfortable, wipes out your gender dysphoria and you're completely comfortable in the body you were born with. My answer to that is then I wouldn't be me.
Yeah, genes don't basically design you. Genes are not a blueprint for you. If you had the same exact genes and you were basically conceived again, you would turn out nothing like you. You would be very different than you. I mean, you'd probably look the same as identical twins, but as far as your brain wiring and how you ended up going through your life, it would be very, very different. And
That's weird. We were just
yeah,
talking about that for Sean Carroll
Yeah,
thing.
well,
Yeah.
there's an awful lot regardless of the gene structure. It's genes expression that matter, not the genes itself.
And the timing.
If the gene's not activated, then the gene does nothing. If the gene is activated, then it does whatever it's gonna do. And in the case of genes that affect physiological the development of sex characteristics, they can be off and not activated, and you will have a phenotypical expression at birth of the sex that is commonly associated with a different genetic structure.
Yeah.
And also
phenotypes
and actual phenotypes as expressed in the finished organism. The chromosomes themselves are phenotypes. They're structures. They're things that carry things on them. They're not the be all and end all of the actual person. So it's like, oh, well, I mean, I ran across in another feed. Oh, well, the only way they must be testing for chromosomes at the Olympics. They stopped doing that in 1998 because they were finding too many fucking anomalies.
Right.
I mean,
and Sapolsky
this is the level of discourse that it goes on and on and on. And 1998 was quite some time ago, in case people didn't notice.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, God damn it. So anyway, Sapolsky.
I am off my soapbox. It's just, just right there, and I apologize. I'm not meaning to go off on. I'm not meaning to go off on your previous guest there. It's just.
Yeah,
I wish
he meant no harm. It was just an example, and he.
Yeah,
and why? Yeah, okay, and I get your point that why in the hell is that always the example? What's first? Well, the thing is, it's so much in media.
I mean,
I hear it from.
It's not. The thing is, people who are transgender are not all that common. So you got to pull this one out. I mean, find somebody with some other find some other tiny minority to pick on for a change. Actually, maybe not. Maybe it's a good idea not to pick on tiny minorities.
When I talk to my bigoted Christian relatives, that's all it's the first fucking thing they mention, some weird thing that they think is happening in schools. And, so it's kind of basically it's the bigots that are putting it out there and creating this fucking problem, and it's just, oh God.
Yeah, I know. But they've been inspired to do it. Somebody's out there inspiring them to do it because it's the perfect gambit. You go after this teensy minority that has zero chance of being able to ever fight back and defend itself effectively, and get everybody buzzing about it, and especially if it's got anything to do with sex, because you know what everybody does when you start talking about sex? They either beat off or they fucking grab a hold of their nuts because they're afraid they're gonna fucking lose them. That's what happens. That's the crux of the fear.
God, being an old man, I don't give a shit about sex anymore, and I look back and I think, gee, it's like it seems weird to me now. I don't know. I just I'm so done with it. I'm so fucking done with it. And boy, am I glad, because it was a very
Christ, Speed. You know,
I don't know. What?
maybe you just
I'm
needed.
done.
Maybe you just haven't met the right magazine yet.
Oh yeah, right. Well, okay. Well, I'm not done with that, Stephanie. I'm not done with that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that would be unhelpful.
Yeah, but I'm done with the whole mating or attempting to mate part of it. I had a girlfriend about 8 years ago, and holy fuck, it didn't work. It was just so horrible. I was so unattracted, and she kept trying to fix me like there was something wrong with me, that there was a pill or there was some fucking shake or nutrient that I could take to all of a sudden, yeah, and it just didn't work. And the only reason I got into the relationship is because I loved her mind and I loved talking to her, and somehow it just went into that whole fucking, oh, it has to be sexual, and it's like, does it?
We speak of troublemakers. Here's our troublemaker right here, with $150 million budget to target kids with all the nonsense that Stephanie was talking about.
Who's this asshole?
That's Martin Isles. That's Ken Ham's new replacement.
Oh my God.
With $150 million budget to target kids with nonsense.
Yep. Yeah, and they're targeting my great nieces and nephews. They actually went to that fucking conference and got their homeschooling material. Kids that I care about, my blood.
And he's taking it all over. He's going to be. Ken Ham didn't pick anybody that's worked for him for decades. He went and got this guy because this guy is a piece of garbage.
Ken Ham is going to fly off on his private jet to some mansion somewhere and retire. Yep.
Well, Dan Phelps said Ken Ham is. I don't know how what the correct terminology is, but like hiding money because he's buying everybody a house. So.
Yeah, those guys got money. I think I looked at their balance sheet, because do they have non-tax status? Basically,
he's got it depends. He's got all different things set up. You know how they do it. So
yeah, but I think the revenue
some are profit, some are non-profit. Yeah,
$250 million in one fucking year, and I think half of that was from donations. Yeah.
It shouldn't be what a friend we have in Jesus. It should be what a bank we have in Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah, Jesus Saves at the First National.
Well, he bought a display of old Jerusalem or something from one of the failed Christian.
Is that parks. Like a chewing tobacco?
But he didn't have nowhere to put it, so he had a fundraiser for. What was it, $20 million, $2 million, whatever it costs to build a building to put this big model in. And yeah, he raises the money quite easily. He's very good at raising money.
Yeah, well, all these guys, it's so remarkably effective. Again, it thrives on fear. Fear of death. Guess what? You need not fear death. You just need to praise Jesus and give me all your money.
Well, it goes beyond that.
Then you'll go on your merry way, and everything will be fine.
It goes way beyond that. You talk. I think Dr. Joel covers it. There's big money that's rolling money through there just to keep the money rolling through. You know what I mean? Again, so it's just a big, tax haven or whatever the terminology is. They give him money hand over fist so that this money's always going somewhere, doing something, etc. So yeah, and he gladly takes it. It's like, hey, you're going to give me $100 million? I'll find something to spend it on. So.
Yeah, and it's also a gateway to temporal power. I mean, you've got, Pat Robertson led the way, really. I mean, he ran for president. Old Pat did.
Yeah, he did.
700 Club, and he's on TV the entire time. TV preacher.
It's a political storm. that's happening, where religion has somehow merged with that fucking Republican Party in the weirdest way possible. And
Ken Ham gets all the politicians too. Yeah. He invites everyone he can to his ark, and takes them out to dinner or whatever. He schmoozes with all the politicians in Kentucky too. Yeah,
Australia's most poisonous exports: Ken Ham and Rupert Murdoch.
And Martin
If you
Isles.
look at 1920s and 1930s Germany, you would find a lot of analogy with what's going on right now with this political storm. And I think that is something
yes,
to be very concerned
Martin Isles worked for a conservative religious law firm in Australia, similar to what Mike Johnson worked for here in the States. And he was a little bit too much for him, so they let him go. And he said he would never leave Australia. That's his home, this, that, and everything else. Well, once he started his own law firm and it was in the red, all of a sudden Ken Ham's offer to come to the States looked really good.
Yep.
And ta-da, we have Martin. Remember Israel Fawad, the ball player that was making all the foul comments, right? Well, this is the guy that was defending him everywhere.
Yeah, he's
well, the Australians are smart. They get rid of those guys, and we take them in. That's
hence the this was just a hack photo job, but or Photoshop job. But Mike and I were talking about they're crawling up on the beaches over here, and we're worried about the immigration problem coming here, when a lot of these people are perfectly good folks, just looking for a better way, right? And yet we've got things like Martin Isles here crawling up on the beach, and we let them in, no problem,
Well, Dave, I really appreciate the nod to Jordan Peterson in that Photoshop job. He's got the lobsters going on there too. Speaking of bad exports.
Yeah, that dude's fried.
I kind of want to get up now.
Mike's had enough. His butt's tired.
Maybe we could just agree to only allow immigrants from Canada if they display a phenomenal talent in the musical arts.
I think that's the way Canada feels about us. They only allow Americans to come in if they have something to offer, like something. Yeah, I don't know, but because
that's true. You can get an immigrant visa into Canada if you can show that it's something that they don't have enough of. So right. I don't think they have enough sailmakers. So that's my ace in the hole.
I was going to say, if folks want to go check some out, it looks like James Apperson just went live too. So
he did. Nice. Wow. Okay. There's a way to link to these on YouTube, but I can't remember how the fuck to do it. But anyway,
well, you need 1,000. You need 1,000 subs to redirect.
Oh, yes. You do. Okay. Well, shit, I'm never gonna get that. Never gonna get.
Hey, you're almost to 700.
I'm liking the pineapple mango smoothie doorknob have, because I actually have pineapple and mango in my fridge.
Oh, I did. I had pineapple. What the fuck? Kiwi fruit smoothies. Those are good too. Yes, very good.
Deconverted, man, we're good. We know you were just, it wasn't against you or nothing. Everything's fine. So.
And I was just having a bad day. We all have a bad day, and it wasn't anything nothing personal.
Stephanie makes a great point, though. Yeah, if you've got questions, call into one of these shows. That's why they have them.
Yeah, or join the Transpositions.
The Discord. There you go. There you go.
We're glad to talk. It's not that we're not glad to talk. It's just, geez, ask us. We're the people that are willing to talk. Don't find some random trans person if you can, because you can't always tell, despite the assertions to the contrary. Just people that are willing to be patient and go through the whole thing. It's like, we're good. It's not. It's it's the people that. Bring attitude and bring well, there's a certain guy, Pinecone, I think his name is Pinecone Droog or something like that. He likes to deny that studies say what they actually say, that kind of thing.
So from the first day I saw you on YouTube, Stephanie, I learned to when you start yelling, I shut the fuck up and listen.
Yep.
I came in hot. I know. I came in hot. I'm sorry.
No, you know, and when Maya and her friends are together, or Jay Bundy and their friends are together, and they're talking about black issues, it's like it's time to shut up and listen. I mean, you know,
Listen, right?
Yeah, there's a time to listen. Yeah. So again, you know, if we're those of us that aren't in different groups, we all need to shut up and listen to the other groups because we're not in them. So that's the only way you can learn.
I ran that by my brother.
Believe it or not, it works all sorts of different ways, and you know, I think Professor Dave put it well. It's like he takes a far more confrontational approach than, say, Forrest Valkai does when it comes to talking about science. Because I was listening to Dave's taking down of Terrence Howard's second appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh yeah.
And
Christ.
You know, let's just put it this way: I don't think that Terrence is fine wine as far as his stupidity is concerned.
You know, I love him as an actor. I've always liked him. And why the fuck did he do this? Why did he do this to me?
Well, he's not a mathematician. Let's put it that way. 1 times 1 does not equal 2.
No. Anyway. But anyway, my you know, I have a close relative that basically is going off on transgender all the time, and or has a few times, right? And I put it to him. I said, you know, you don't know what these other people are experiencing, right? And he said, no, I don't understand it. And I said, well, just shut the fuck up and listen. And for some reason, that got to him more than any other argument I could have put up with him. And so it might be a good way to deal with some of these people that are a little confused. You know, just tell them, shut the fuck up and listen, because you don't know what other people are experiencing.
I made a video that's called "Stop It," and it addresses these very issues. That, and if you're in these different, you know, if you think you know better than people's sexualities or their genders or their issues like homelessness or whatever the things are, you don't know better than they do. You do not know better than they do. You do not.
People that are suffering from trauma, we don't know what the fuck they're going through, and you just have to sit, shut the fuck up, and listen. I think if
you know better than all the experts in medicine and psychology and psychiatry and all the other fields of science because you saw a YouTube video, you just don't know better than all those people. You don't.
In these unhappy times, a lot of people are hurting pretty bad too, for whatever reason.
Okay, guys, can we get out of here? I'm going to shoot her in the head.
Oh yeah. Bang bang.
Okay.
Pleasure talking with you, Stephanie, as always.
No, it's always fun.
Okay, we're going to end the
Thanks
stream.
for having me on, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks,
Goodbye, cruel world.